Confidence at work isn't something you're born with. It's something you build moment by moment, choice by choice. It's not the loud voice in the meeting, not the person who dominates every conversation. Real confidence is quiet. It's steady. It's the kind that walks in the room, doesn't need to announce itself, and still changes the atmosphere. Confidence isn't about having all the answers. It's about trusting yourself to handle whatever question comes your way. It's about knowing you'll figure it out, even if you don't know it right now. That trust, that self-assurance is what people notice. It's not about being perfect, it's about being present. Because the truth is, people don't follow perfection, they follow presence. The most confident people aren't the loudest. They're the most grounded. They don't rush to prove themselves. They listen, they observe. They think before they speak. They understand that silence isn't insecurity, it's power. While everyone else is reacting, they're reflecting. And that reflection gives them clarity. And clarity gives them control. Confidence isn't something you pretend to have. It's something you prepare for. When you've done the work, your nerves have nothing to argue with. When you show up prepared, your mind stops fighting against fear because it has facts to stand on. You don't fake confidence, you earn it. You build it in the quiet hours no one sees, so when the moment comes, you can stand tall without forcing it. Your self-talk shapes the energy you carry into every room. You can't tell yourself, "I'm not good enough," all morning and expect to walk into work like you are. Confidence starts with the conversation you have with yourself. Speak to yourself like someone you respect, because the words you say to yourself set the tone for the words you say to others. And here's the truth. True confidence doesn't need to be proven. It's felt, not forced. You don't have to convince anyone that you belong. Your consistency will do that for you. When you're grounded in who you are, you stop performing and start influencing. You stop needing to win approval and start commanding respect. Confidence isn't loud. It's not dramatic. It's calm, certain, and steady. And when you walk in that energy, people feel it before you say a word. Confidence isn't about having all the answers. It's about trusting yourself to handle what comes next. The reason most people feel nervous at work or in new situations isn't because they're unqualified, it's because they think confidence comes from certainty. But real confidence doesn't grow from knowing everything. It grows from believing that no matter what happens, you'll figure it out. That's the shift that changes everything. Because when you stop chasing perfection and start trusting your ability to adapt, you stop fearing the unknown, you start welcoming it. When you walk into a meeting, a conversation, or a challenge, your confidence shouldn't depend on how much you've memorized or how many facts you can recall. It should come from the quiet belief that you're capable of learning, adjusting, and staying calm even when things don't go as planned. The most powerful people in any room aren't the ones with the perfect answers. They're the ones who can stay grounded when others start to panic. They don't crumble when something unexpected happens. They don't let pressure turn into fear. They trust their own composure more than their knowledge. Think about it. Even the most experienced people in any field still face moments of uncertainty. The difference is, they don't let uncertainty own them. They've learned that confidence is about flexibility, not finality. It's not about knowing how everything will turn out. It's about believing you can handle whatever outcome comes. That mindset frees you from the constant fear of being wrong. You stop trying to impress people and start focusing on being effective. Because when you trust yourself, you don't need validation. Your calm becomes your credibility. There's something magnetic about a person who stays composed when things fall apart. It's not arrogance, it's assurance. It's that inner stillness that says, "I might not have the answer yet, but I'll find it." That energy changes the entire tone of a room. People start looking to you for direction, not because you know everything, but because you're steady enough to lead even when things feel uncertain. And that steadiness is what true confidence looks like. It's the anchor in chaos, the pause before the reaction, the calm in the storm. We often think confidence is built by proving ourselves, but it's really built by trusting ourselves. You can spend your whole career trying to earn confidence through external achievements, but if you don't believe in your own ability to adapt, every success will still feel fragile. The moment you tie your confidence to something outside of yourself, your job title, your appearance, your approval from others, you give your power away. Because if they can give it to you, they can also take it away. Confidence rooted in self-trust can't be shaken because it doesn't depend on anyone else's permission. When you start trusting yourself, you also start taking smarter risks. You stop waiting for perfect timing, perfect clarity, or perfect conditions, because you know perfection is just fear disguised as preparation. You act, you adjust, and you grow. That's what makes people resilient. Confidence isn't the absence of fear. It's the decision to move forward anyway. It's saying, I don't know how this will go, but I believe in my ability to respond. That belief turns anxiety into focus. It replaces panic with patience. In moments of pressure, a big presentation, a difficult conversation, an unexpected question, pause and remind yourself, I don't need all the answers. I just need to be present. Because presence is more powerful than perfection. People don't remember flawless responses, they remember authentic ones. They remember how you made them feel, not how perfectly you performed. Confidence is emotional steadiness under stress. It's the calm that gives others permission to relax. So stop trying to script every outcome. Stop chasing certainty. The truth is, the most successful people you know are improvising half the time. They've just learned to trust their instincts. They don't let fear of failure keep them from stepping forward. They know that mistakes aren't signs of weakness. They're signs of growth. Every time you recover from one, you reinforce the truth that you can handle more than you thought. That's real confidence. Confidence isn't loud. It doesn't need to dominate the room or prove a point. It's quiet, but powerful, because it comes from within. When you trust yourself to handle what comes next, you don't have to perform. You just show up, fully, calmly, ready to adjust. You start operating from strength instead of fear. And that shift, that deep trust in your ability to figure things out, will make people listen to you differently. They'll sense it before you even speak. Because confidence isn't about having all the answers. It's about knowing, without needing to prove it, that you'll always find your way. The most confident people aren't the loudest in the room. They're the most grounded. Real confidence doesn't need to announce itself. It doesn't demand attention or validation. It simply is. You can always feel it when it's there, calm, steady, and quietly commanding. The person who's truly confident doesn't compete for space in the conversation. They don't need to fill silence just to feel seen. Their presence alone says everything. They don't need to prove they're important. They already know they are. The loudest voice often belongs to insecurity trying to disguise itself as authority. You see it in meetings, in conversations, in arguments. People raise their tone when they can't raise their level of self-control. They interrupt, they dominate, they talk over others, thinking power comes from being heard the most. But the truth is, the person who doesn't need to fight for control already has it. The grounded person doesn't need to outtalk anyone. They win people over with composure, not volume. Being grounded means your emotions don't control your actions. Your awareness does. It's that stillness inside you that doesn't get shaken by chaos around you. It's not that confident people don't feel nervous or challenged. It's that they don't let those feelings decide how they show up. Their calm becomes their strength, because when everyone else is trying to be noticed, they're focused on being effective. When others talk to prove a point, they listen to understand. That's what separates noise from influence. Confidence isn't about having the spotlight, it's about having self-control. The most grounded people in any room aren't reacting. They're observing. They don't rush to speak because they're not afraid of silence. They know silence makes others reveal themselves. While insecure people are busy defending their image, confident people are studying the energy of the room. They use calmness as leverage. Because in a world full of noise, calm becomes magnetic. When you're grounded, you don't let temporary emotions create permanent regrets. You don't respond to every challenge as if it's an attack. You pause, process, and then respond with precision. That's what makes grounded confidence so powerful. It's intentional, it's measured, it's not reactive, and that's why it's respected. People might not remember exactly what you said, but they'll always remember how you made them feel. Calm confidence creates safety, not fear, and safety is what earns trust. Think about the leaders, mentors, or people you admire most. Chances are, they aren't the ones shouting or constantly proving themselves. They're the ones who stay steady when things get messy. They make others feel calmer just by being there. That's not an accident, it's emotional discipline. Grounded confidence is the result of knowing who you are and refusing to let external noise change that. It's quiet strength, not performative power. The loudest people often confuse attention with respect, but attention fades, respect lasts. Loudness might capture eyes, but calmness captures minds. The person who remains grounded during chaos gains authority without asking for it. Because everyone subconsciously looks for stability. And when you become that stability, when you can hold your composure when others lose theirs, you become someone people naturally follow. The difference between loud and grounded confidence is purpose. Loud people speak to prove something. Grounded people speak to serve something. The loud one says, "Look at me." The grounded one says, "Let's solve this." One needs validation, the other gives value. That's why true confidence doesn't come from dominance. It comes from direction. You can't fake it. People can feel the difference between ego and calm assurance. Grounded confidence doesn't panic when misunderstood. It doesn't beg to be agreed with. It doesn't shrink under pressure. It simply stands calm, steady, unbothered. Because it's not built on how others see you. It's built on how you see yourself. And when your sense of worth doesn't depend on being the loudest, you start to realize how much energy you've been wasting trying to prove what was already true. When you're grounded, you don't fear silence. You use it. You don't need to talk over people to be heard. Your stillness already speaks. The most confident person in any conversation is rarely the one talking the most. It's the one who could talk, but chooses when and how to. That's control. And that control is power. The kind that doesn't intimidate, it inspires. So if you want to be more confident at work, stop trying to be louder. Start becoming more grounded. Slow your reactions. Steady your tone. Let silence work for you. Because the moment you stop trying to prove your worth and start embodying it, people will feel it. You won't have to demand respect. Your presence will create it. Real confidence doesn't echo through noise, it settles through stillness. It's not the storm in the room, it's the calm after it. And that calm, quiet certainty. That's where your real power lies. You don't fake confidence, you build it through preparation and presence. True confidence isn't a performance. It's a product of what happens when your effort meets awareness. People who try to fake confidence usually give themselves away without realizing it. Their tone wavers, their eyes search for approval, and their energy feels forced. But the people who've earned their confidence, who've built it step by step through real preparation and presence, don't need to act like they belong. They just do. Confidence starts long before you walk into the room. It begins in the unseen moments when you're studying, practicing, thinking, and doing the work no one applauds you for. It's what happens in the quiet hours when you prepare so deeply that when the moment comes, you don't have to pretend. You've already rehearsed that conversation in your mind. You've already learned the details. You've already done the hard part. So when others are trying to prove, you're just ready to perform. Preparation gives you something that fake confidence never can: peace of mind. It removes the shaky feeling of uncertainty and replaces it with grounded clarity. You don't have to rely on charisma or quick words because your foundation is already built. The person who prepares doesn't need to overcompensate. They don't need to talk louder or longer. Their confidence comes from competence. And that kind of strength can't be faked. But preparation alone isn't enough. The second part, presence, is what makes your confidence come alive. Because if your body is in the room but your mind is somewhere else, you'll still feel small. Presence is about showing up fully, not distracted, not defensive, not rehearsing what to say next while the other person is still talking. It's about being grounded in this exact moment. It's listening, observing, breathing, and responding with intention. That's where confidence lives, not in perfection, but in awareness. Presence teaches you to slow down, to breathe before you speak, to notice your tone, your posture, your energy. Because people don't just hear your words, they feel your composure. A confident person doesn't rush to fill silence, they allow space. They don't panic when the spotlight turns toward them because they trust their preparation. And that trust radiates through everything they say. You can always tell when someone has done the work, their calm becomes contagious. Think about how powerful it feels when you're around someone who's both prepared and present. They don't need to control the conversation, they guide it effortlessly. They don't crumble under pressure, they respond with grace. That's not luck, that's training. It's hours of unseen effort showing up as ease. When you see someone speak clearly, listen deeply, and carry themselves with quiet certainty, what you're really seeing is years of self-discipline wrapped in calm confidence. Confidence built through preparation and presence doesn't get shaken by one mistake. Because it's not built on ego, it's built on consistency. You can mess up, pause, and still hold your ground because you know your value isn't defined by one moment. You've built a deep trust with yourself, and that trust doesn't collapse under pressure. It adjusts, it breathes, it recovers. That's real confidence, not perfection, but self-trust. You see, fake confidence is loud because it's fragile. It needs to be seen to survive. But real confidence doesn't depend on external validation. It's quiet because it's earned. You don't have to tell people you're ready. They can feel it in the way you show up. You don't have to prove that you belong. Your preparation already does that for you. Presence is what turns that preparation into power. When you're fully here, not in your head, not in fear, you connect better, think clearer, and respond wiser. People trust those who are present because presence communicates something deeper than words. I'm here. I'm listening. I'm steady. That level of awareness transforms ordinary communication into leadership. So if you want to be more confident, stop trying to fake it until you make it. Prepare until you believe it. Show up until it feels natural. Listen until people feel heard. The goal isn't to appear confident. It's to become confident. And that happens every time you honor the process. Every time you do the work before the moment comes. Every time you stay grounded when your nerves try to pull you away. Confidence isn't born in the spotlight. It's built in the shadows. Through repetition, reflection, and showing up even when no one's watching. You don't need to act certain. You just need to keep preparing and being present. Because the more prepared you are, the calmer you feel. And the more present you are, the more power you have. That's how you move from faking confidence to owning it, not through pretending, but through presence backed by preparation. True confidence doesn't need to be proven. It's felt, not forced. You can always tell the difference between someone trying to look confident and someone who simply is. The first one performs, the second one embodies. The first one seeks attention, the second one earns respect. Because real confidence isn't built on trying to convince others. It's built on knowing yourself so deeply that you don't need to. It's quiet, steady, and grounded. It doesn't demand to be seen. It naturally draws attention because it carries peace, not pressure. When you truly know who you are, you stop needing to prove it. You stop chasing validation because your value isn't up for debate anymore. You stop explaining your worth because your actions already do that for you. Real confidence is unbothered by comparison. It doesn't shrink when others shine, and it doesn't inflate when it's praised. It just is. It's the steady heartbeat that keeps you centered no matter what room you walk into. Fake confidence, on the other hand, always feels heavy. It's loud because it's insecure. It talks too much, overcompensates, interrupts, and fills silence with noise because it's afraid of being unseen. But the truth is, the most powerful people in any room are rarely the loudest, they're the calmest. They don't need to prove how much they know or how capable they are. They let their composure speak louder than their words ever could. True confidence doesn't chase, it attracts. Because energy doesn't lie. People feel your steadiness. They sense when you're comfortable in your own skin, when your presence isn't built on performance but on peace. You become magnetic, not because you're trying to be impressive, but because you're fully authentic. You've stopped trying to control how others see you and started focusing on how you carry yourself. That shift changes everything. It's not about walking into a room and saying, "Look at me." It's about walking into a room and saying, "I belong here," without needing anyone else to confirm it. It's not about proving your value to others. It's about remembering your value to yourself. That's what gives your confidence depth. When you trust your preparation, your purpose, and your presence, you don't have to prove anything. You just exist with quiet certainty, and people feel it before you ever open your mouth. Confidence that's felt, not forced, also gives you grace. Grace to learn, to make mistakes, to be human, because you're not performing anymore. You're not chasing perfection. You're grounded in progress. You can admit when you don't know something without feeling small. You can take feedback without feeling attacked. You can fail without feeling finished. Because your worth isn't tied to how flawless you look. It's rooted in how consistently you grow. And that's the kind of confidence that lasts. It doesn't fade when you're criticized. It doesn't crumble when you're overlooked. It doesn't break when life tests you. Because it's not external. It's internal. You've built it on truth, not approval. You've built it on self-trust, not applause. You've built it on being honest with yourself even when it's uncomfortable. That kind of confidence isn't shaken by noise, it's strengthened by silence. True confidence walks into every situation with calm assurance, not because everything is easy, but because you know you can handle it. It's the quiet voice in your head that says, "You've been here before, you've overcome worse, you're built for this." And even when you feel fear, you don't let it control you. You move forward anyway. Because courage and confidence often look the same. They both start with choosing to show up, even when you're uncertain. That's the difference between performing confidence and living it. Performance fades the moment the audience disappears. But real confidence stays even when no one's watching. It doesn't need approval to exist. It doesn't rely on applause to stand tall. It's who you are when no one's clapping, and who you continue to be even when no one notices. So as you walk into work, into meetings, into moments that once made you shrink, remember this: you don't have to prove that you're enough. You already are. Your confidence doesn't need to shout to be heard. It doesn't need to fight to be seen. It just needs to be felt. Let your actions whisper what your words don't need to say. Let your calm be your strength. Let your preparation and presence do the talking. Because the most confident people don't walk around trying to convince the world. They just show it through consistency, integrity, and grace. They've learned that confidence isn't about being perfect. It's about being at peace with who you are and how you show up. And that peace is something everyone around you can feel without you forcing a single thing. So don't chase confidence. Live it. Build it quietly. Carry it calmly. Because the moment you stop trying to prove yourself is the moment you start to be yourself. And that's where true confidence begins and never ends.